Welcome back to another episode of WTF. We talk facts. And you know it's WTF Reloaded. My man, Cluster Johnson, E. Strick. What's up, Sibo?
It's an exciting day, Eric, because we've been waiting for this for a long time. As you can see, we have an empty seat right here, and we got a special guest for you today. Somebody, everybody across, especially the boxing world, want to see. You want to hear what this man has to say. We're excited to have him here today. It's actually a part two, but we'll get into that a little later on. But again, stay tuned. We got a special guest, some exciting information. Let's go.
Boxing extraordinaire will be here on the other side of the break right after this. We're back in WTF Studios with our special guest, Chet Fortune, boxing extraordinaire, man, the myth, the legend, the one behind the magic of Bud Crawford and his success. Chet Fortune joining us on WTF today. What's going on, Chet? How are you? And Cluster Johnson, what you got to say about this wonderful man sitting next to us?
Well, what I wanted to say is I love this man's name, Fortune. You know why? Because he on his way to making a fortune. The name is going to actually
manifest itself.
Absolutely. It's manifested itself.
Yes, sir.
So I'm excited, and we're excited to have Chet here today. There's a lot of exciting questions we want to ask him. There's a lot of meaningful questions we want to ask him. There's a lot of intriguing questions. And I think that we have enough questions here that the people want to know. Because we're asking the questions that people are wondering about, and I think that we got it. I think we're going to hit it on the head today.
There's no question about it. We're going to hit it on the head like Bud Crawford hit Canelo upside his head and took the dove and got the belt. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing that, you know, Chet is also a part of the Flock Squad, B West, Thunderbirds in full effect. That's something that a lot of y'all, if you know, you know. But Chet, man, thank you for coming today. We really appreciate you joining us on WTF today.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. Let's start here. I just before we get into the meat and potatoes of it all, Chet, I just wanted you to kind of talk about yourself and kind of how you came up. I know we could jump right in and start going for what people want to know in regards to what they saw on TV the last few months.
Okay.
But let's kind of go through your journey and how you got to where you are today. So let's start here. He, as Eric said, he's a Flock Squad, which means he's a Bellevue West graduate, Bellevue, Nebraska.
Thunderbirds.
He's a Thunderbird.
Stand up.
And I know Chet. I knew Chet early in his 20s. I knew he was very much into fitness, but how did it actually get here?
Well, you know, I didn't know I was going to be training, you know, world champions or in the boxing industry whatsoever. Or, you know, I always liked working out. That's kind of where it started, you know, like in high school, before high school. And I tell a story about, I think it was like 7th or 6th grade, some friends that live across the street We built a little gym space in his parents' garage, made up little membership cards, called it Gym Swole. You know, 3 numbers, you know what I mean? But at that moment, like, you know, like I was big into sports. They weren't necessarily into sports, they just like working out. And, you know, it was something I took along with me through high school, just always went to the gym. Even if I was doing track or football, I still made time to find some time in Gym Swole, you know. And after high school, I started working pharmaceutical sales. I worked for Pfizer.
Okay.
From there, I went to some branch management positions and some various banks. Worked for a collection agency. Was looking for my passion. Like I took a lot of business classes. I did DECA in high school. That kind of gave me that public community. Yeah, the Dave Schimmelon, you know. Like,
he told the story. I know he probably told y'all the story.
It's one of the few teachers I still, you know, like check in on and, you know, conversate with today. But back then I didn't know that, you know, like public speaking was my thing. But I did know I wanted to work for myself, you know. I wanted to own something and create something.
Yeah.
So I opened a janitorial service, you know. This is kind of 9 years out of high school, you know, working branch management and like, hey, now's the time to do something on my own. I had some mentors that, you know, there was a guy named, he went by MT, Money Talks. Milton Thomas was his name.
Money Talks and Fortune. My goodness, you was right in the mix.
If you ever, you know, ran into him, he gonna tell you MT stand for Money Talks. And you know, he was just a cool black dude. Always had some gator boots, you know, or gator shoes, and dressed up well. You know, the nicest Jeep. And I was just thinking, like, you know, like, yeah, like if he could do it, I could do it. So I started a janitorial service called Lifetime Janitorial. I got myself an Astro van. Some equipment. My Astro van was, you know, had 20-inch wheels on it. The black wheels. And, you know,
had them spree wheels on them?
Yeah, they weren't sprees, but, you know, it was nice. I kept them real clean. But I was able to get contracts because I could sell. I hated cleaning up behind people, and I found out that quickly. So got back into banking, and I started, you know, figuring out what, you know, like, do I want to do? What's the next step of something I can create? But it's got to be something I'm passionate about. And I had people following me to the gym. I had a little part-time job as a dealer. So I dealt craps and roulette at Horseshoe.
Okay.
And from there, you know, I had people following me to the gym. It'd be 2 o'clock in the morning. And I got 3-4 people going to the gym, and I'm thinking, like, man, I can make money to do this.
Yeah.
So I got my CPT. I didn't want to look like or, you know, like train the way that the trainers from these global gyms.
Yeah.
I was going to 24-hour fitness. That's why I used to run into you a lot.
Absolutely.
And I was just like,
You didn't want to look like Mr. Atlas.
I didn't want to look like none of them, you know. And,
Yeah.
and at the same time, I didn't want to train. You know, I had my own ways of training.
style.
By this time, like I said, I've been training forever. So I started looking for space. Then I started manifesting it, you know, talking about it to other people, my vision. And, you know, like even people at the branch that I was working at American National Bank at the time.
Okay.
You know, you tell those folks you work with, you tell some friends of yours, and, you know, like, I'm not saying they laugh, but, you know, like, you ain't never even worked in a gym. You gonna open a gym? Oh,
They'll laugh
okay.
at you.
Yeah, they just, you know, so I was just like, that just sparked my motivation. Like, I'm gonna show you. So I found some space, put down my name on the lease, and then walked into my boss's office the next day and was just like, hey, this is, you know, I got some space that's opening up in 2 weeks. And yeah, it's my 2-week notice. I'm out, you know. And from there, when I started, I didn't really have a set structured plan together. I had, you know, the belief, you know, I knew anything I put my mind to, I was going to do, and I was going to make it great. And we opened up, we struggled for the first couple years. Did the Groupon thing, that kind of, you know,
No.
terrible, you know.
I'm familiar with that.
With time came, you know, some committed people that enjoyed the way we did things. My space was very functional. At the first, I think when we first opened, it was only 2,500 square feet. We didn't have tons of equipment.
Right.
Had a big CrossFit rig, some dumbbells, some sandbag.
It sounds like this, Chet. You are very non-corporate to your approach to how you did things,
Right.
which obviously puts you on the map as you continue to do what you did.
Yeah.
And I noticed that about you. Like, there are some people out there who knows how to take a corporate situation and make it more personal. And it sounds like that's what you did. Your name got out because when you're doing good work, I mean, people start to hear about it.
Right.
Right. I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off,
you're good.
but it seems like as a young man, you had a vision already.
Right.
And that's when it's crazy because when you see people who turn out to do great things, it's like they knew.
Mm-hmm.
Like they knew. They didn't know exactly how they were going to get there, but you knew, and you had to go through a lot of different things to get to where you are.
Right.
And now you're here today.
I'm here.
So check this out, man.
Yeah.
Let's get into some of the nitty gritty, because
Nitty-gritty.
when we hear your story and we hear your background,
Right.
you hear perseverance,
Mm-hmm.
you hear vision, you hear a passion.
Right.
You hear a lot of that behind it. So in the incorporation of that, right? Where are you from?
Bellevue, Nebraska. You know,
See?
since 1989, I'm a military brat. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I was born in Madrid. You know, we lived in Maine for a few years, and then my dad liked Nebraska. You know, as far as it wasn't as fast paced as the East Coast.
Yeah.
You know, where him and my mom were from. And I mean, I tell people I'm from Omaha. You know, just because most people that aren't from Nebraska,
They don't know.
They don't know where Bellevue.
Right.
Never heard of
Right.
it.
And that's what I want to get to.
Yeah.
Because we two are very similar.
Yeah.
We come from that same cut of cloth. I came in 86. I think Kless came in what, 90?
87.
87? So we all came around
Yeah.
roughly the same time when
Yeah.
we first got here. You just happen to be a little bit younger
Military,
than us,
straight
right? We're all
military.
straight military. But when you really look at life, your adolescence is where you really are from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you did your adolescent
Your
training is
growth.
where you from. So when I get into it, man,
Foundation.
your foundation,
That's right.
that's where you plant your root, right? So when I think about what you said, the question then becomes, when you look at like Bud, for example, and are fighters like Bud, are they bred or are they built because of where they've come from? Because a lot of people, when they look at Kless's story as well, you will see very similar things in all of our stories.
Mm-hmm.
And especially out of here, we're overlooked a lot. A lot of times, I remember we used to go and play basketball in these tournaments, these national tournaments, and they look at us like, Nebraska, we go out and bust their tail one time. But I'm going to say it because we on YouTube. Bust their ass. You know what I'm saying? And pause. But nonetheless, that's what I'm saying. So when you look at a fighter like Bud, do you see it's in him, or is it something that has to be pulled out and they just become based on, people like yourself and Bomac and the trainers?
I mean, when you think of fighters, like, first of all, ain't nobody like Bud. You know what I mean? You're talking about the greatest of the great. When it comes to, fighters in general, a lot of them have that similar upbringing where, they're coming from the ground, the grit, the dirt. They don't have much. And they get into boxing because it keeps them off the street, gives them something to do, gives them some
channel
purpose.
that energy too,
Right.
channel that frustration.
Absolutely. So, like where we're from, a lot of people that aren't from Nebraska don't know that, there's black people here, first of all. But second of all, like it's like a big city in a small scale. Like we've got a lot of good, we've got a lot of bad.
Yeah.
So like where he came from, I mean, he was in the heart of North Omaha. The
Shot in the
Terence.
head.
Come on now, I mean,
That's wild.
and persevere.
Yeah.
And he took himself to the hospital. I know he don't like to talk about it a lot, but he took himself to the hospital and still knew he wanted to fight. He was mad. He tells the story all the time. He was more mad because he was going to miss the boxing tournament that he was getting ready for.
And see, that's that. And Cluster, this is just a quick tie into what you just said.
Yeah.
That thing is innate within you because you had a similar story.
Oh yeah.
You had to persevere, and you could have been overlooked, but because you were so good and you were such a natural born killer in what you do and your upbringing as well, what we've been put through, you were able to see some of the same things.
Yeah, I want to just piggyback onto what Eric is saying. Chet, kind of talk about what happened to you, because a lot of people, they don't know that story. I mean, they see you as this incredible trainer of this incredible fighter, but they don't really realize that you have had, some setbacks in your life.
Right.
There's something that traumatically happened to you, and obviously it tested everything within you, your mind, your body, your spirit. Maybe kind of talk about, the incident that you had that led you to where you are today.
And we want to just make sure we're clear. We're not saying Bomac. He's not hitting the pads, but he's getting the weight. He's getting the conditioning. He's getting all the strength and conditioning. So when we say trainer, sometimes a lot of people put their focus on, the stuff like Bomac do is in the ring and the sparring and all that type of stuff. But he does a little bit different. He makes sure that the conditioning, the heart, all that stuff.
And
so I just
want
to make sure that's clear.
It's red.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch. Yeah. Soul, red. Yeah, it's a team. It's a team.
Shout out to all of them. Shout out to all of them.
So the gym took off. I started getting some pro athletes, Zach Bowman and Kenny Anatolu, Zach Miller, some of the first guys, when they're still in the league.
Yeah.
That, stopped through, loved it. I got in the paper, got in Omaha Magazine.
And those are professional football players. Shout out to them.
Shea Magazine. So, that's when I started working with Bud. 2014, after his Omaha fight with Gamboa. Reached out to the team. I started bodybuilding, so I started competing and realized, I didn't think I knew what I thought I knew, these people really are doing something special to their physiques that put a lot of commitment and time and dedication. So I got to that point where, I was doing fairly well in big, big national competitions. Arnold Classic, was kind of my thing. I was a month out from my 4th Arnold Classic. Probably in the 2% of physique around the, I'm 4% body fat at the time, probably 20 pounds heavy. I'm only 5'9", but I was walking around, 200 pounds, 5'9", not much fat on me. And, feeling great. I had just lost, I didn't say lose my job. They got rid of that position.
Right.
I was kind of in a unicorn position. Once they got what they needed, they cut me a severance pack. I didn't know what I was going to do, what was next. I was going to do this podcast I was working for a medical clinic, and me and the medical director, he was a 40-year hematologist, well-known trainer, coming together for a podcast. Had trouble sleeping, because I had lost 3 friends in January 2021. The January 6th, insurrection was going on, just the COVID was going on, so the mood, environment, I wasn't getting good sleep. So the nurse practitioner put me on Ambien, the sleeping pill. And, first time I took it, great night of sleep. I was like, man, this thing is great. But he had told me, make sure you've got at least 8 to 10 hours. Don't try to take it. You need to do something. So a week later, I'm getting ready for this podcast that I was going to start with this physician. And I just knew I needed a great night of sleep. So 7:30, I'm watching, my youngest daughter was 1 year old at the time. We're watching Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon. I took the pill. She went upstairs to go to sleep, and then 4 days later, I woke up with a neurosurgeon, saying, hey, Chet, are you with us? You were in a pretty significant car accident.
Wow.
And, you probably can't feel anything below your waist, C3 through T1. So 4 of the vertebrae in my spine and the back of my neck were in puzzle pieces. They did a spinal fusion, and, he was just like, you're lucky to be here, first of all. You've been in an induced coma for the last 3 days. And on a ventilator, you got some work to do to get back. So, that was kind of a huge turning point for sure, wake up call.
Listen, blessings to Brother Chet. He made it through. Obviously, when you go through that type of adversity, it does something to you, mentally, probably spiritually. But, here he is today, and he has ascended from that moment. He ascended.
Oh, yeah.
So you had... So obviously it took you a while to get back where you can function on your own, right? I think you told me 8-9 months before you can, somewhere around there.
And a lot of people told you couldn't do it.
That was kind of the first words out. The neurosurgeon's mouth was, you're probably never going to walk again.
So obviously you didn't believe the hype. Here he is today. He's getting around, dapping me up. I got to make sure I don't hurt myself when I dap him. So how did that connection happen? So you're at the gym, you said you reached out to him because, at that point in his career, he's starting to rise. People are starting to know who he is. What made you think he decided, I'm going to go with this guy? How did that happen?
So, like I said, I was starting to get some, local publicity. Just my name was starting to get out there in my gym. I had a core class that, it had 65 people in it, like coming 3 times, 65 people working out together. It was a big deal. I went to the fight and I went with a friend. We sat ringside, and when they walked by, I'm trying to dap up the team, and I told my friend, I'm like, man, I'm gonna train him. And he just kind of, same thing with the gym. Yeah. When you open up, when you tell people stuff. But like, I manifest, I believe, And so I reached out to Red Spikes, one of his coaches. We kind of knew each other, followed each other on Facebook. And he was just like, just shoot him a Facebook message, just hit him directly. He prefers that direct connection. And, like I was just thinking, just like now, it'd be like, I admire or look up to LeBron or something like that. Like just shoot him a Facebook message or Instagram message.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
you thinking like, yeah,
it's not gonna go anywhere. I'm like, okay, he just pushed me away. But like,
but that's how we built, because people do that to me.
Yeah.
They do that. That's how we built here.
Oh, yeah.
So that's beautiful to hear
yeah.
that story.
So like I just shot him a message. A couple weeks later, I got a message back. He was like, yeah, I'll try you out. And so he shot out by himself, came with nobody. At that time, like I said, he was a world champion at that time.
Right.
Came with nobody. And my gym, by this time, is 5,000 square feet. So we bought another bay or rented another bay. But it was open space. When people came to the gym, if they weren't coming for a class and it was just personal training, it was just you and them. This large space. And so for me, just because I feel like I was born with it, like we were talking about, Bud's born with it to be, the great star he is. And so when he came out, it was just like, I worked out with every client every day, every training class. I didn't care if I had 8 sessions in a row. I was going to be their bunny. And, like when he came out, I know he's coming out for a good workout, but in my mind, I want to see where I'm at. Let me see where I'm at as far as the elite status.
Right.
I'm gonna push that ass.
Right.
Like Paul.
Right.
But either way, great workout. He wanted to come out 2 days later. I was like, great. Came out 2 days later, and after that session, he was just like, hey, I want to make you a strength conditioning coach for me. Bring you out to training camp. We do them in Colorado Springs. We'll be out there for 6 weeks. Then another 1 or 2 in the fight city. Let me know if you could do it. And I was just like, great. Give me a few days because I got to see what that looks like from
family.
I got a business,
Right.
And I was like, I'll get back to you. He was like, I need you to get back to me
ASAP.
tomorrow.
That part.
Because we leave Sunday.
Not ASAP Rocky. I mean ASAP.
Oh yeah, now. Like, hey, you want to do it or not?
Right.
And for me, obviously, I'm gonna figure it out.
Right.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And so, hit him the next morning. I was like, yeah, count me
Let's go.
in.
Right.
And it's been 10 years.
So Chet, when you look at Bud, and what is an underrated part of his training that the fans probably wouldn't notice? I mean, it's like sometimes they like cameras in there. Sometimes they'll allow people to come in and watch and observe. But what is that one that underrated thing that fans on the outside looking at? So for example, me as a basketball athlete, they think that when we step on the court, the lights just turn on. They don't see us running the hills, running on the track, in the sand, on the beach. They don't see all that stuff. They just see. So what is that thing with Bud that's that underrated thing that fans maybe don't know about?
I mean, fans don't know. Boxing's a conditioning sport. Most fans don't know what it takes to, even if they go to just a boxing gym and, like I just want to learn how to box. Punching on a bag for 2-3 minutes, they're
wore out.
They're wore out.
Facts.
Let alone somebody, fist coming at you trying to hurt you and want to knock your head off. So like the amount of work that we're training 6 to 8 hours every day.
Wow.
Boxing is one aspect of it.
Yeah.
Then you've got the strength and conditioning. You've got the road work.
You got film,
swimming. You got yoga. All
watching film
in a camp. I'm not even gonna say it's like boxing or football where you're sitting down with the team, like analyzing. Like they have to live it, not just love it. Like to be as great as Bud. Like in our camp house, and we're one of the few training camps that the whole team is in the same. We're there 6 to 8 weeks. This last camp was almost 12 weeks. Together at all times. But boxing is always on the TV, and it's not just like whatever fight's coming up. Like, it's boxing
history.
Yeah, it's 50s, 60s, analyzing other greats, and it's like, they're doing it on their own time in their room, in the living room, it's always on. If something else is on, you're gonna have Bernie coming up. turning the channel, putting on, something boxing related. So, but, like that aspect of the grind that it takes, somebody working out consistently an hour, 2 hours a day or something like that. That's great, tough, hard to be committed to, but 6 to 8 hours of, the hardest work, knowing the man, it's not what
it takes it like it's his job.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds very Michael Jordan-esque, right? Like a relentless approach.
Yeah.
Very relentless approach. But let me get real with you right now, okay? Chet, everybody, all these boxers work hard, right? When I look at all these boxers, they got serious training camps. You got guys, they go to different places to train. And everybody claim they go hard, right?
Yeah.
What makes Bud different, right? So, because everybody claim they work hard, right? They get in the ring, it's my will against your will.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody gonna fold in here, two quote unquote immovable objects, right?
Yeah.
But something about him, and you've been able to see it, there's something about him that makes him different. What makes him different in his approach to the training process?
The competitive spirit. And, I say this to a lot of the athletes I work. First of all, when other boxers come to our camp, it's the hardest camp. It's nothing like our camp. Like, they haven't experienced anything as tough on the boxing or strength conditioning. But when I say competitive spirit, you guys would know, if it was football practice, one of the first things, in Pop Warner, take a lap around the field or take a lap around the, for me, and why I succeeded, on the track is I had to be first. I had to be, if it's just a warm up and I just had to be first.
Right.
For whatever reason, like everything we were doing, I had to shine, and Bud is no different. Like his competitive nature, you tell him to do something, he might not like it. He might say something, but he's not scared of the smoke.
Right.
Especially when you're putting in the work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he wants, it's a competition at all times. And, like you see him and Steven Nelson, another one of our fighters, like I might be having them do ball shots or something like that. And, like Bud will be looking at Steven like, they're doing the ball shots, they're working hard. It might be for 45 seconds or an amount of reps. Like, man, I got my ball higher than you.
You better get your weight up.
Yeah, well, I'm using a 12-pound ball. Well, give me that 12-pound ball. Like, so it's that competitive nature at all times that, like makes them special when you're putting in that work behind the scenes. You weren't with when you're shooting in the gym, that Rick Ross.
That's right. That's
Like,
right.
it's always a competitive, it's always a competition when it comes to the training.
Right. All right, so when let's break it down there, since we there. We're gonna touch that. So tell me this. Name a current fighter right now, today, that may train harder than Bud. I'll wait.
I've been around a lot of fighters. I can't say, can't say many at all. I mean, there's, and I don't want to disrespect it. I've got some fighters, they all work hard, trust me. But, that competitive spirit, I haven't seen a lot. Like Ben Whitaker, he spent about a week with us, like at one point in time before.
The guy from British.
The UK.
Yeah.
And he was a big-time Olympian, but he works hard as hell,
Yeah.
I haven't been with him long enough, like I said, I spent a week with him to say that commitment's there for 12 weeks, 10 weeks, I got to think it probably is ingrained in him. Like I said, not everybody's built like that, but now, I can't say out of the 10 years I've been involved with boxing, I've seen an athlete that, has that work ethic at all. And that's why he's where he's at.
So you were with Bud through at what weight to now? It began from you at what weight? Was it 135?
140 is when I did.
Okay, so 140, you saw him become undisputed at
we
140.
went. I'm the only strength and conditioning coach that was a part of all 3 undisputed championships. So
all 3 undisputed.
So the first one, I was only strength coach. It was in Dongo in Lincoln.
Okay.
Second one was Spence. We had Ashley. She's great too. And then this last one against Canelo, obviously, I was a strength coach.
Well, if you're a fighter out there, get your weight up and get on the phone and hit that man. We're gonna give his information on a little bit later. Go ahead.
I want to know this, my friend. So you've been through all these undisputeds with Bud. And I must admit, I will say, we talked about this before off camera.
You see?
I've had moments of doubt.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. And listen, I'm just normal. I'm just a man. I'm normal, I'm made of flesh, even though you don't think I am. I've had moments of doubt. But it was like 3 times I had some doubt. I didn't say he was gonna lose, but I had my doubts, right?
Yeah, well, I'm in the belly of the beast down in Texas, having the. I'm having to fight my way out. This man over here doubting.
Yeah. So that being said, right? Obviously, in the camp, there's no doubt because you can't be in the camp if you're thinking, I don't know about this one, bud, right? So when you guys are about to approach these big events, right? Like, what's the mindset overall within the camp? What's the mindset? Is it like, listen, we already won this, or because I know what he's saying, what he's doing, how he feels, or is it one of those things that I got to see how he works, which will give me confidence, right? Because I'm just saying, as a former athlete, I felt like I had to, when I put in some certain work and I knew what I did and knew what I was going to do, that made me confident and made me more prepared, right? You know, boxing is a whole different beast, right? It's almost like mentally, before you take on this challenge, you already know about this opponent and what they've done, what they've accomplished, and sometimes they become this immovable object of a, you know, God, like sometimes, you know, like Canelo, you know, like we're talking Canelo, or Errol Spence, like there are people who did not, you know, there are people who didn't think they could be beat, right? Especially to Bud. So going into these fights, what is it like within the camp? Like, what's the feeling?
Man, I mean, when I joined the team, Bomac took me to a cigar lounge with Red about 2 weeks before the Dier Jean fight. And, you know, it was my first camp experience. And, you know, Bomac looked at me and he was just like, you know, Chet, what's it like to join, you know, the greatest, how do you feel, you know, joining the greatest boxing team out? When he's done with his career, he's going to be the Michael Jordan of boxing. This is like the first 2015, and I'm thinking, like, you know, he's great, you know, and I think he's great. I think he's going to be great, but we'll have to wait, you know, we see. They got to do the work. We got to get those accolades.
Right.
And, you know, the confidence from Bud was from the very beginning when he was 7 years old. He knew, you know, he wanted to be on that Mount Rushmore of boxing. He was confident that's where he was going to end up. And, you know, I can say never drank, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. You know, like the Spences and the Canelos, you see, you know, Canelo's drinking beer and, you know, Spence's had his, you know, problems. And, you know, like Bud always put all that, if it wasn't going to, you know, benefit him in the ring, he always put it to the side. So I think, you know, like with every fight, we knew we're working harder than every other fighter out there just because, you know, we're around so many. And they come to our camps and they know what it's about. And going into the Canelo fight, it was no different. Like we were all 100% confident with how he was going to do. He was confident. And, you know, night of the fight, we're in the locker room before he walked out, you know, and Bomac's talking to him, you know, about like, hey, you know, how do you feel? You know, like you're going to be great. I said the same thing, like, man, you about to make history. And, you know, like he said the same thing to all of us, like it's already written. Like, you know, like there was no, you know, like doubt in he's all smiles, you know, feeling good because he knew, you know, like why he started boxing was for this moment. You know, and it was here. So, you know, like there was zero doubt on the team. And then, you know, like when you're a fighter or when you're an athlete, you know, when they've got that full confidence, it just makes it that much easier. Muhammad Ali, there's video of him going out. Come on now. And, you know, like he's looking at his coaches. He's like, why is everybody looking so damn sad? You know, like, what are y'all scared of? Like, you know, so, I mean, it was that moment. And, you know, like there was, when you have no doubt in your fighter and, you know what your fighter is. I mean, it was just, we were just waiting for the moment, the night to be over. Like, hey, this history's here. History's now. We knew it the whole camp. Like we're about to make, you know, there was plenty of times where we're just in the garage sitting together, you know, thinking like, man, like we're here. Like this moment is here.
Okay. This is what I've discovered. Then I'm gonna turn it over to my man E because I know he anxiously want to ask about. Because we're intrigued by this.
Fans.
We're right here in the city.
We
get a chance to feel the hype, hear the hype. It's incredible to see how it all has transpired. But this is what I've discovered, and I want you to kind of speak on this a little bit. What I've noticed about Bud if he's asking for the fight, and if he really is going after the fight, he's already discovered that he won.
Mm-hmm.
He has figured something out.
Yep.
Like, cause I saw some earlier Canelo comments, and it wasn't, he was like, oh, there's weight classes for a reason. Like, he wasn't, necessarily calling it out. But at some point, he was like, I want that fight.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing with Errol Spence. For a while there, he must have knew for a long time, like, I want that fight.
Right.
What is it? Like, there's something that he has discovered. There's something that he saw that has told him, I'm going to win that fight.
Right.
So that's why I always say, if Bud has accepted the fight
Mm-hmm.
and he's going, I want the fight.
Yeah.
I will no longer fall for the okie doke.
Mm-hmm.
I put all my money on Bud now.
Yeah. Smart man. Yeah.
What is it what have you seen in him that has said to himself, there's something in him that's going, I want that fight because I know I'm going to win it. What is that? What is, I don't know if the question is coming out right, but I'm trying to figure out what is that? What's making him go, I already won this fight. You know what? I want that fight.
The dog, like that's at the end of the day, he just likes to fight. You know what I mean? It's not the sport of boxing. In my mind, he's the best to ever do it. But since he was a little kid, he's always been fighting. He's always been fighting people bigger.
Yeah.
His mom would pay people to fight him, and grown men. And he was
we heard those stories.
So I mean, we've all heard the story. Spence, he knew that when they ran into each other, there's YouTube, where he pulled up on him, you won't take the fight,
right.
And then you saw how Spence reacted, and then once you got that, once you see they're looking away, and that's when he knew that. With Canelo, he tells a story about calling Bernie because Bernie was the only one that would answer 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
Right. So
he called Bernie, once this shortly after signing the contract, and he's like Bernie. He's like, what's up, bud? Bernie answered. He was like, man, I'm gonna beat this dude. I know I got him. And at the end of the day, it's just because he knows, he likes to fight.
Mm-hmm.
He's not scared of anybody. And, he knows what he's got. He knows what he's put the work into building. It's not just something that, he's not a young fighter. He's been fighting since he was 7 and working like this since he was 7
So do you
years
think
old.
it's something within the opponent's fighting style that he knows that, I know if I do this, they can't account for that? Do you think there's some of that going on?
Styles make fights. And I think a lot of times, because I've seen it, is, our coaches are amazing, and there's extra eyes
Absolutely.
in the ring, but to think that, any one coach, the ring IQ is higher than his, you know what I mean? So a lot of times they see it, he'll get back, by the time he gets back to the corner, what a lot of coaches want to say, Buzz already he already figured it out. So watching, there's a lot of, you talk about film, there's a lot of film on Canelo. Canelo's got 65 fights, 66. So, there's a lot of film. So, when Bud analyzed it and he does it, just like LeBron. LeBron's, telling this is what they're going to do. And this is how they gonna do it?
No, I ain't gonna say that.
So okay. So at the same time, he knows, these are his mistakes. This is how I'm gonna counter his mistakes, and this is how I'm gonna, really. Okay, you think he's the bigger? He's gonna push me around. Well, this is what I'm gonna do to make sure that's not the case. You know. So he puts in the work too. So it's not just seeing it, but it's just putting in, an overwhelming amount of work to make sure you're comfortable, with the belief. He's got the belief first, though.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. And as you're sitting here sharing not only your story, I already know that's my best friend over there. I already know his story. And then I watch my own, and there's so many people that have told us that we can't. All throughout. I mean, I've had coaches that were my coaches, even at the University of Nebraska, that were trying to send me to Europe. And it's that thing that you said earlier, it's written. I had already seen where I was going.
Right.
and it was etched. Once it's etched
Mhm.
in your spirit, there's nothing that can dissuade you
More.
from where you're going to go and what you're going to attain. That's just the way I feel. It doesn't matter. It's not sports related only,
Mhm.
because like I said, my friend Cluster, he sacrificed some things for himself, and I watched him do it in business.
Mhm.
The same thing that was in him, he put it in his sons, and then he went and did it in his business. So it wasn't just because he didn't go to the NFL.
No.
That just wasn't his thing. He
No.
had children that he put it in,
Mhm.
right? So that's why I'm saying it's not just a sports-related thing. It could be a business-related thing and all of that, right? And so when I looked at my career too, with the naysayers and the negativity and the negative Nancy's and all of that, and then you go and look at pictures of me blocking out Yao Ming.
Mhm.
Man, 7'4",
Well,
I'm 6'3", I'm taking the challenge to guard Shaq.
You want that.
You know what I'm saying?
Want that.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
You
there's
want
just
that.
something in you.
Mhm.
So now the question then becomes this. When you look at Bud, is he to you, and not just you being a part of the crew, but is he to you, pound for pound, the number one fighter, not right now, yes or no, but why?
Oh, he's absolutely the number one fighter. The why, like I said, I don't think there's a dog, he's that dog.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's a lot of, I've been around a lot of, a lot of champions. We've trained champions, but like that it doesn't turn off the competitive spirit. It's just like we could be doing stuff. I mean,
he could be hooping. He trying to. I'm sure he trying to go at me.
He could play darts.
Right.
He could play pool.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It could be, it's whatever. It's taking stuff in the house from grocery shopping, and I got a little bit more in my hands. I can lift. I can take a little bit more than you. Give me what you got.
Right.
It's just that competitive spirit just
Yeah.
does not turn off.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I haven't seen it in anybody else.
I saw him at the Creighton game one time. Walked up and shout out. It's love straight. But what up, man? With his family, man, beautiful thing to see as well. And he's like, "You ready?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, "Bud, now I'm a mother now. I'm a mother in this thing over here."
Oh, yeah.
But he's like, "You ready?"
Oh yeah.
And he'll try to outshoot you, and it doesn't matter what it is. That's what I love about him. That's good. That's good to know. And then to just a quick follow up on that. When you think about him as a boxer, as a man, what is the first word that comes to mind? Is it his power? Is it his discipline? Or is his calculation, as Cluster was alluding to? Is his ability to kind of calculate the situations and then enact them? Or is it a combination of all three?
I mean, it's a combination for sure, but I think the primary would be his commitment to the work that it takes. Like I said,
because it's hard to get up and continue to do that after you reach the pinnacle.
I mean,
so it's a discipline.
There was plenty of days, like in many training camps where, we had three training sessions the night before. We ran. They're running 3.5 miles, 4 miles up a mountain. We got boxing, strength conditioning, swimming, and it's just like, man, that was a great day. Everybody's tired, and then 5 o'clock the next morning, we're wondering what time are we going to the run, or what time are we going to and, Bud is kind of cryptic, we'll get to it, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, he's kind of cryptic, and all of a sudden 5:30 in the morning, everybody's waking up just to be ready, and Bud's walking in the door, and the house that we have is at the top of the mountain. It's 1.5 miles like straight down, and then it's a super steep slope, running back up on the way up. So, we're getting up trying to see if we haven't heard work time. Usually Bomac, somebody's waking everybody up, and we haven't heard that, but we just want to be ready because you want to be ready when Bud's ready.
Right.
And even though we got other fighters, Bud's the guy. That's who's making the money.
Right.
And he's walking in the door because he's done already ran. Not trying to beat everybody. He was he was up.
Yeah.
Couldn't sleep, so I got to the work.
Yeah.
And I'm still gonna be ready at 9 o'clock. That's what makes Bud different.
So I got a 2-part question, and this is the nitty gritty of what a lot of people want to know. We kind of held this one back. So 40, 35, 40, 47, 68, right?
54, 68.
54, that's right,
One
54,
fighter,
54,
yeah.
68. So you had to see these dramatic jumps, right? So he dramatically jumps. 54 was underrated. I think that was a great boxer that he beat at 54.
Was that Montreal?
Madrimov.
And I think that he's going to prove that as time goes by.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to talk a little bit about Bud's like walking around weight and how maybe that wasn't as big of a deal as what people thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that. And then from there, you know, he obviously beat, he's at the top of the mountain. He wins 168.
Mm-hmm.
Now people talking about he should either
Another
retire, man, you did it. Mm-hmm. You should retire now. You at the top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on that? Should he retire now? Or should he? No, he got more to accomplish.
What we gonna do? That's a great question. That's a great question, Sibo. But what we gonna do is we're gonna take a pause and come right back on the other side of the break.
Redirection, things happen in life. You put your mind to it, you can truly accomplish anything you want to do. I took it a step, hadn't done any of that, but in my mind, I've got all these surgeons telling me, you're never gonna walk again. And my mind is just like, if I gotta fight the rest of my life to move, that's what I'm gonna do. Your support system, if they're not supporting what you're going after, they're not your support system. Find the support system that will. Find the people that do believe, that say the positive things that can get you to where you're trying to go.
Cluster had broke out. Hey, welcome back to First of all, let's welcome back to WTF. But here's the thing. Cluster brought out a great question. I just want to let him kind of reiterate it so that way Chet has a clear and concise, precise wording of how he wants to give the answer.
There's a lot of fans out there, boxing fans and boxing aficionados who felt like this man is just jumping up too big in weight to take on this monstrous challenge. And a lot of people, it just goes to tell you how much he's been underestimated in his mind and in his approach. Here's this man, he dominated at 140, dominated at 147, won at 154, jumps all the way up, skips 60, go to 68. You saw this transformation from this guy who 47, jumped to 54, jumped all the way to 68. You had to play a part in getting him and his body ready. Mm-hmm. Mine obviously was already right because he decided, hey, I want that. So maybe kind of talk about what it took to get there, to get that weight right. And then the second part is he gets to the top of the mountain. He conquers the top of the mountain. Mm-hmm. And now people going, you got two sides of the story going. You got people who going, man, you should retire. Listen, you can't beat what you just did.
Yeah.
Or do you feel like, you know what? Not everybody can beat Father Time, right? Mm-hmm. But he's LeBron-esque right now. He is kind of defying what Father Time is telling a guy his age should be doing right now. You don't really see no decline in how he's boxed. So, let's talk about that dramatic increase in his weight.
Sure.
And where he should go from there.
So first part of that, like physically, just the attributes, like when you say 2 divisions higher, Canelo's got the experience. He was the undisputed champion at 168. So he's got a lot of fights at 168. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's kind of like when boxing, like people who, a lot of people you'll hear in boxing, you're like, you don't know shit about boxing. You know, like you'll hear that term a lot.
Right.
And when it comes to the size difference, for the people that do know boxing, it was more about that's the dramatic weight. So a lot of, you hear the Tim Bradleys or Tim, he believed in, but
He was on y'all team.
But I'm just saying, like, a lot of those analysts that used to be boxers, when you hear them, Oscar De La Hoya, all these other people, when they analyze it, they just know how many fights Canelo has at 168. That's what makes it dramatic. Size from a physical standpoint, Bud's taller.
Yeah.
He's got a much longer reach.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that experience of that weight, but walking around weight, it's probably pretty similar.
Yeah.
And Bud knew that. Obviously in sparring, we had training camp. He's in there with Andre Ward.
Yeah.
Andre Ward.
He's tough.
Come on now,
he's one of the better ones.
One of the great. He's arguably on that Mount Rushmore too.
Right.
So he knew his confidence in going with somebody bigger, larger. He might not have that experience. It might not be 8-ounce, 10-ounce gloves. But at the same time, he's had that experience with heavier punchers. So that never was something that we really looked at. I knew personally just from a strength and conditioning perspective, I see what Canelo looks like when he hops on stage, and I think Bud's gonna look bigger, stronger, more dialed in. He's gonna look dialed in. Canelo looks solid, he looks thick, but it looks mostly like head and neck to me. You know what I mean? So that was my push, was just I want to make you look like the bigger guy, physically, naturally. You're already about the same size,
Right.
And then when it comes to what he should do next. That's completely up to Bud. Like you said, he looked like a prime fighter. He just beat the undisputed guy, this legend at 168. And although the scorecards, they did their best to make it look like a close fight. If you watch the fight, Canelo really won maybe one or 2 rounds, 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Being maybe 3. Okay, give him 3. That's 9 to Bud. So that's pretty much a wash, right? So in the prime of his career, he can do whatever he wants. I don't see, I don't know. It's Bud's question to answer. But, a fight at Memorial, selling out 90,000 at home. He loves home. I mean, it almost seems like it has to be done.
That seems like it has to be
done. And now he's
even if you got 75 or 80,000.
You see him walking out with the football team. You see him walking out with the wrestling team.
Prepping.
You've seen him.
He's calculated.
Yeah.
He's calculated in that stuff. You just think about the way that he's entered the rings.
When he left Top Rank, they were saying Bud's done. They were miscounting how smart he really was. Now he's Turkey Al Sheikh's one of the biggest promoters in boxing. He started with Bud. You know what I mean? Now you got Saudi money flowing in, and Bud's very smart when it comes to he's got tons of properties and business ventures that people would never. You just saw him doing modeling for a big watch company and. He's doing his thing. So, for him to retire, if he did, nobody could, he's 3-time undisputed champion. Came up 2 divisions to fight what was the best at that division and made it look easy.
Yeah.
So, with his record, you could retire right now and, nobody's 42-0. Nobody's going to question what you did.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if he wants to fight, my money would still be on Bud. I don't know many, people, unless he's jumping up to, two more weight classes to, where then his height is a big thing, those divisions you're talking about, most of the guys are, 6 foot. So it's a little different, but at the same time, he's going to do what's smart, from a business sense and what he feels like, his body. I think it's not about his ability. It's about the work that it takes to, even like a basketball player like Eric, it's, you might be, basketball as a talent is never going to leave him.
Right.
But the work that it takes to be in a season for 82 games and, prior to the season, same thing with the NFL guys, the work that it takes, are they willing to be committed to it? A lot of them just, you get that age and, you put that many seasons
I
in.
knew.
Yeah, you know when it's time to hang it up. For Bud, it's going to be no different. Are you willing to put in the work that it takes to get to fight night?
The what matters most in boxing today? Would you say it's the boxing grit? It's, you know, the old school way of doing it? Do you think it's the analytics? Because see, basketball has turned a lot over into analytics as opposed to, you know, that science-based type stuff and the trainings of the day. Or is it just, you know, staying in the ring and just really just, you know, putting in place the things that, you know, you've experienced or what you've seen, and just going out and sparring and getting it done? Like, what do you think some of the most important parts of, you know, that training of the day is?
I mean, I think strength and conditioning is becoming a big part of boxing. When you talk about old school boxing, you know, they didn't have strength and conditioning coaches. They worked out, their boxing coaches became part of that element. I think that's becoming more, you know, more eyes are on. It's an important piece. And lifting weights and, you know, like even stuff like deadlifting. It's funny because in some of my social platforms, like you'll see other you know, people that haven't had the experience that I've had talk about, this is why you don't deadlift as a boxing coach. There's no need for you know, in boxing. And yet, you know, I've worked with the greatest boxer of all time in my mind, and you know, that a lot of those stuff you say don't do are things we absolutely did, and that's why he's, you know, the greatest. So,
Chet, listen.
He's got one question. I have one more, and then we'll let you go.
yeah.
I was just gonna say this, Chet. I want, you know, we appreciate your time. Since everything has transpired, you've become even more in demand. I just wanted you to give people how they can get a hold of you, your socials. I know you just wrote 2 incredible books. Maybe you can give the name to those, because I know you've been able to inspire even more people with mindset and how to work hard to get to what you want. Maybe kind of talk about, give out your socials, tell people how to reach you.
Find me on Instagram as Strength Condition Coach. In my bio, there's some links to both books. One book's called Fighter Built. It's a boxing, strength conditioning mindset, but also there's, you know, 8 weeks of programming in it. Even if you're not a fighter, you know, if you want to train like a fighter, you know, it's a good way to do, a good platform.
Absolutely.
And then the other book is called Win Anyway. It's based on mindset. You know, it's something when I public speak, because I public speak now, it's something that's, you know, just the mindset of a winner.
How do people get a hold of those books? Because I've inquired about it. I want it.
Strength Conditioning Coach on Instagram.
Okay,
I got links, but also Facebook. I've got some stories. It's just Chet Fortune on Facebook.
Okay.
And they're direct to you, or can you go like to Amazon?
So I'm doing KDP.
Oh, you're working on
this.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I just wrote these books this week.
Oh, okay.
They will be on my website, CoachChet.com, ChetSpeaks.com. Like I need to put on Chet Speaks today, but Chet at CoachChet.com is my email.
Okay.
So if any reason, you know, you can't find them, shoot me an email, Chet at CoachChet.com. I can send you the links. By the time this is up on the podcast, check my websites, because there's a good chance they'll probably be on both websites or Amazon. One of the books, Fighter Built, I just got to reformat to make it Kindle ready. Once that's up, it'll also be on KDP. So Amazon or what else?
My last comment is, we appreciate having you, bro.
Because Cluster said something earlier. This is part 2.
Yeah. And we want to let Chet know he got a home here, man.
Yeah.
We hope that we can, you know, maybe make it some series. We can come back on, break down some of those books.
Right.
Talk about some future boxing events that may occur, and you know, this is home, baby. We want to make sure.
Yeah, some of the up and coming
No doubt.
fighters, you know, your Boots Ennis's, your Abdullah Masons. You know, if they're fighting, like that's what Cluster's talking about. If they're fighting and we come back, we can break down kind of some of those top-notch fights.
I'm with you.
Absolutely.
I got some big boxing events and some other things that I'm doing, some other business ventures. So
Good.
plenty of
We want to continue to plug you.
Yeah.
Final debate question, and we're going to leave this for you guys. You'll find this. We would love your engagement in this particular question. We love your thoughts on that. Go ahead and tap in the comment section, like, share, and you know, subscribe to WTF. And it's not just WTF no more. It's
WTF Reloaded.
Reloaded.
Eric and I, just real fast, we are coming from another platform, and we decided to go off on our own, do our own thing, become our own owners of the platform. So We need you subscribers who used to
to
listen
support.
to us
Yeah.
on the other platform. Come on through. Show us some love. We're good to have people like Chet Fortune on who's about to make a fortune. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact.
Who's made a fortune.
Final thing, and this debate of a question. It's also a question to you, but we also want to hear from you as well in the comments. If Bud and Tank. If Bud and Tank. See, we know somebody. Yeah, see, there's a guy named Tank
man.
that's sitting a couple of rows down. Not that Tank.
A lot of people don't realize
They don't know
that's
that's his
my
nickname. There's another Tank.
My family called me Tank.
But and the reason why I say this is, we saw your boy run and hide for the heels. We know Bud wouldn't do it. We talk about Jake Paul. He went south to hide because he knew he wasn't gonna run from him. He was gonna put them paws on him. But we're gonna change. If Bud and Tank were in the same weight, who wins and why? And I don't want no safe answers.
Shit, you ain't gotta answer that if you don't want to.
I got no problem.
I don't want no safe answers.
I don't think that fight would probably ever happen. But if it did, I mean, I know there's been a little spats between the two.
They don't like each other.
And, like anytime you get on Bud's bad side, it was just...
You.
Yeah, come on now. Like Canelo was real respectful.
Yeah.
Tank was disrespectful.
Yeah.
So, Bud's murdering that dude.
Yeah.
Tank ain't taking that fight. Tank wouldn't want that fight. Publicly, he might say what he's gonna say, but he don't want that fight.
Ultimately, it comes down to not what my man thinks. What do you think? Get in the comments again. Subscribe. Again. Not only do that, share, but also just let us know how you feel about WTF Reloaded. We appreciate you guys joining us today. We appreciate Chet joining us today here on WTF. Cluster Johnson, Eric Strickland. We'll see y'all next time right after this. Same bad time, same bad channel right here. Peace.